name is Graham Salisbury. I'm a bereaved carer. I've also been involved as a lay member of a research team looking at hospice at home services.
My name is Claire Butler. I'm a palliative care physician of many years' experience and also a clinical professor at the University of Kent. This video may be of interest to anyone, but in particular we're hoping that it will be helpful for people who are considering an end-of-life situation, either facing their own end of life or caring for or supporting someone else who's facing the end of life. We, Graham and I, together have done some research about end-of-life care in England, but we also have experience in our own working and personal lives, myself as a palliative care physician for many years, and Graham as a carer, and also someone who's taken enormous interest in research in this area. So we're going to talk today together about what sort of situation you might find yourself in, how we may be able to help and support you, what services are available, what questions you may want answered. And between us, through our discussion, we hope that you will find information that will be of assistance to you. It might be useful to start off by thinking a bit about how do people recognise that this is the situation that they're in and that they might need help and information about managing, eventually, death and dying at home.
Yes, and every situation is going to be individual. Sometimes there will be a very immediate diagnosis, normally given to the patient from the medical professional, and that would be something like terminal illness explained to them, and therefore it's a very clear-cut situation that they face. Other times it's a more longer-term, protracted journey, whereby it could well be the partner that's observing issues, the patient feeling basically changes happening to them physiologically, or indeed family members coming in and observing the situation, might not see the couple or the patient very often and be able to observe changes occurring.
I absolutely agree with you. So sometimes people are given a diagnosis, told that dying is now imminent. But quite often, health and social care professionals are not particularly confident or comfortable with these sorts of conversations. And it may, exactly as you described, Graham, be on the background of a fairly long period of deteriorating health and frailty at home. And it may be that it is at some point the patient, with or without the support of their family, who reaches a sense that their life is coming to an end. And then perhaps seeks to confirm that with health and social care professionals. As you say, quite different stories bring people to this point where they realise that they need additional help and support at home. And perhaps particularly what we're talking about are people who have decided through that process that they would prefer to stay at home and eventually to die at home, if possible.
Yes, I think that's a good point, and critical to that is the communication that then goes on. Whether it's that short-term situation that we've described or the long-term situation, communication between the patient and those supporting the patient is absolutely critical to them.
Yes.
To explore and agree what they believe to be going on for them, and establish their responses to that in order to decide how they're going to go about dealing with the situation.
Yes, absolutely. So in an ideal situation, hopefully the patient, the person who's suffering from this illness, will have someone to support them and to help them on a daily basis, but not always. So some people will be facing this alone, and that is obviously a much more difficult situation for them. But nevertheless, if they prefer to remain and to die at home, then that will be what services will do their best to achieve. Other situations, and the ones that we particularly looked at in our research project, there is someone there on a daily basis caring for the person. And as you rightly say, Graham, the communication between them and the understanding and agreement between them about the situation and what they hope for is crucial. Some people have fantastic communication, others find these conversations much more difficult. And I think one thing it might be useful to say is that there is help. There can be help with communication. It is possible that local services can provide counselling or psychological support that could help people to talk these very difficult things through if they're not finding it easy.
One would hope that in this situation, if that person is alone, they can go to their GP. Normally would be the first port of call, to express their concerns and get advice, as you say, Claire, as to where they might go for that support that they're seeking.
We've been talking in quite an abstract way about how people reach an understanding of their healthcare situation and recognise that probably the end of life is quite close. And I know that you said sometimes people are given a terminal diagnosis and it's a clear-cut point in time. Other times people reach an understanding themselves, but exactly how does that happen? It can be precipitated sometimes by a hospital admission. So someone goes into hospital very poorly, comes out not a great deal better or maybe worse, and recognises that despite medical interventions, including hospital care, their situation is not improving, and actually they would prefer to avoid going back into hospital again. So that's one possible way in which this situation might crystallise. But it would be useful, I think, Graham, if you're happy, to tell us a bit about your own experience in this.
Yeah, our journey was protracted, and over a long period of time you come to realise that things are changing and they're limiting your life in a number of ways, and you have to start recognising what you're going to do about that situation. So absolutely critical to it is open, loving discussion about the prospect that you're facing and reaching an agreement that you are indeed where you are. So having had that experience with my wife, it was really important to us both that we shared the experience together and agreed that we would remain strong in our commitment to see it through in the best possible way and giving ourselves the best experience on this journey that we were going to have together. So recognising that we weren't professional, we needed to speak to professional people, and we're very fortunate because of her condition with pain management. We were engaged with the hospice at a very early stage, and that gave us the confidence to formulate our approach to this and recognise that we were going to be able to stay together for the longest period of time before actual interventions needed to take place. And for my part, I was very committed to looking after her, and that is just so important. Two people need to make that agreement.
Reach that agreement.
So we did that, and we felt very comfortable in that, particularly not knowing how long, having no timeline at that point in time.
Can you remember the moment at which you looked at each other and said, we're coming to the end of this journey?
I think it was more of a triggering than a real. It's very difficult for you to agree that this is you're in the last lap of your life.
Absolutely.
You do need that support and that little bit of guidance that we had from professional people to point out the fact that was appropriate, because it was slow. you know, had it been a rapid deterioration, there would have been
Yes.
a physical trigger.
Yes.
That wasn't available to us. It was a very slow, progressive
Mm.
deterioration. But that change of tack, I think, came from professional input.
Okay, thank you. That's an ideal situation, Graham, where you and the person who's unwell, the two people together, or it may be a wider family group, are able to come together and talk very openly and share their feelings and come to an understanding. That is not always possible. I mean, it may be that some families don't find that sort of open communication easy or possible and may require some help and support with that, which should be available from health and social care professionals. Or it may be a situation where someone's caring for somebody with advanced dementia and it just isn't possible for that person to engage, to get involved in such a conversation. So we're talking about what's ideal, but I guess we want also to acknowledge that some people are in more complicated and difficult situations than that. And that is where we very much hope that we can give you some signposting to the sort of help and support that might enable things to go forward.
We hope you found the video helpful and supportive, and please make real good use of your local services.